Good evening. Good evening. Hope everyone is having a great thus far. We're once again at the hump day. Hopefully, it's downhill for you as you get prepared for the weekend. Hopefully, you got some cool stuff happening this weekend. We're going to give folks a few moments to jump on with us. Tonight, we're talking about silence the noise and trust your path. The path that you're on right now, we need to silence the noise that's around us because it's discouraging, excuse me, distracting. Um, it causes us to overthink things. It causes us to get nervous. We begin to hear all that mental noise and chatter in our minds. And we just need to learn how to focus and get back on track, right? And it happens to all of us where we get sidetracked for one reason or another. And a lot of it is just the different people we allow into our sphere of influence, if you will. All right, so we'll give folks a few moments to jump on. Hello, my love. Once again, hope everybody's having a great week this week. Hope you've got some projects completed or on the way to completion, and you'll have a great weekend. Have some things you'll be able to do that you truly enjoy outside of your work, your career, your job. And I think tonight's topic is a real key, critical cog in the wheel of what we've been talking about over the past several weeks. Silence the noise and trust the path that you're on. Trust your path. All right. Alexa, pause. Once again, thank you for joining me tonight on Meaningful Conversations with Dr. Devin Oten. Uh, please go up if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet. Please subscribe, hit that bell so you're alerted when we go live, when I drop some videos, put out some new content. Make sure you like the content if you like the content, of course, and share it. Share it with family, friends, colleagues, coworkers, those who you think would benefit from the content that we share on a weekly basis on this particular podcast. And once again, thank you for joining me. Tonight, we're talking about silence the noise around you and trust your path, trust the path that you've decided to begin to pursue, build, develop, all of those good things, right? Hey, Dr. LeBoy, Dr. Hank, you got the alert. All right, thank you. And hopefully, we won't have any issues with YouTube. Last week, YouTube freezed on me. So it's my hope and prayer that it doesn't freeze on me tonight. But anyway, tonight we're talking about silence the noise and trust your path. Our theme tonight is really about focus, clarity, and just that internal confidence that each of us has. And of course, it's always under constant attack to diminish the confidence that we have, to erode the faith that we have in our vision, our purpose, and once again, that track that we've decided to pursue. This is an important topic, in my opinion, because after we begin to move forward in something, doubt is going to come. Overthinking happens. How many of you been there? I've been there, just overthinking the situation. Outside opinions, that's another key critical point. Those outside opinions can stop us in our tracks because sometimes it's people that we really trust, people that we confide in. And here we go. They've said some things, given some advice, man, that really caused us to stall or even stop pursuing that path that we set before ourselves. A matter of fact, Michelle and I were talking last night. Close family members are looking to, step out. and be courageous and make a major purchase. And a relative, came out and said, "Oh, that's stupid. You shouldn't do that for this, that, or the other." And it really caused a shock, right? And really caused them to stop and pause and think about, maybe I shouldn't do this. And those intentions were, I'm certain, really good, wanted to be helpful, probably could have been presented in a better way, a more empathetic way, a little bit more emotional intelligence, and maybe also some better background information to share. And the only reason I share that is because, we're going to get those outside opinions all the time, whether we ask for them or not, whether we pursue that type of mentorship from someone or not. Folks are going to have an opinion. We live in an opinionated world now. Everyone is on social media. I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people on social media, and everyone has an opinion and a comment about everything, whether they're astute, educated, have some experience in that area. It doesn't matter. I got a voice, I got a microphone, and I'm going to put my opinion out there. And a lot of people are being hurt by those opinions because they, for whatever reason, trust those people. Hi, Dr. K. Good. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So, there's mental noise that gets into our heads. In this episode, we're going to talk about regaining control of our direction, the direction that we're going in. So, not every voice deserves our attention. I'm going to say that again. Not every voice deserves your attention. Not every voice deserves my attention, right? Uh, my attention needs to be earned in some way. I heard this said some years ago. I can't remember who said it, but basically it said, go around and be around people who celebrate you and not tolerate you. And you can tell the people who celebrate you, right? They give you affirmations. If they have to correct you, they correct you in love. They correct you in a very empathetic way. Um, they have your best interest. You can tell when someone has your best interest at heart, a best interest in their mind, right? They may not deliver the message very well. It may not be very clear. It may not be very articulate, but we just know right in our heart that this person cares about us. This person really wants to see us move forward, right? But of course, there are going to be some voices that could be very, very close to you, a family member, a close friend, a close associate in some way, and we know in our heart that we can't trust their opinion, right? We shouldn't lean on their opinion. We shouldn't give them attention in certain areas in our life. So tonight, once you start moving forward, the noise begins. I mean, soon as you begin to start making those steps, that noise, that chatter is going to begin. Of course, there's a spiritual aspect to all of that as well. And what happens is we start to hear opinions that we never heard before for whatever reason. Doubt begins to set in because now we're getting some information from people that we may trust, may have confided in at some point or another. And then the other thing that happens to stifle our growth is comparison. We begin to compare ourselves, what we're doing, the path that we're on with other people, right? It's easy to do, and back in the day, they used to say keeping up with the Joneses, right? If the Joneses went and got a new car, here it is, a neighbor down the street got to go get a new car competing. If the Joneses got a new fence, the new latest fence, okay, here we got a neighbor competing. They got to go get something better. And comparison will kill vision. Comparison will absolutely cripple you on your path and where you're trying to go, what you're looking to do in your life. Now, it's okay to look at what people have done when they've done it successfully, and even, you know, lean on a lot of those lessons that they may have learned. But when we start comparing ourselves, excuse me, to what other people have done, we get ourselves into a lot of trouble. And what'll start to happen is because at 6 months, this person was at a certain level, and now I'm at 6 months and I'm not necessarily at that level. What happens? we start to second guess ourselves, right? You've worked diligently. You put this plan in place. Maybe it's a business plan that you put in place. Maybe it's some sort of charitable thing that you're looking to do. And you've thought this thing through. You've spoken to some people, but then here it is. We got these opinions. Doubt begins to set in. We got folks who uh, have said some things that made us begin to compare ourselves to other people. And now we're second guessing. And that will cause you to stall, right? That will cause you to stop in your tracks and you'll lose momentum. So if you're not careful, that noise will pull you off of your path. In this episode of Meaningful Conversations tonight, we explore how quiet external distractions and internal overthinking things can not only cause us to stop what we're doing, it can cause us to lose focus on what the next steps are that we needed to do in the process, right? We will scrap the plan, we will scrap the design, we will scrap what we have, put in motion because now we're second guessing. Now we have this doubt. These opinions are throwing us off. So we don't want to overthink it because clarity doesn't come from listening to everything. Clarity can't come from listening to everything. It comes from knowing what to ignore. I want you to think about that for a minute. Clarity doesn't come from listening to everything, it comes from knowing what to ignore. Learn how to ignore certain things to get over that hump, to get to that next additional steps, right? That's right. I see. I'm not sure who that is. Ty or that may be Toby, brother Toby. That's right. Celebrate me and know that I'm definitely celebrating you. Yes. Let me see what other comments do we have. Yes. Okay. Great topic conversation. Thank you for that. Um, but anyway, I want you to remember that clarity does not come by listening to everything that you hear. Clarity comes from knowing exactly what to ignore, right? So, yes, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you something, which is our custom to do. How many voices are you currently listening to right now? Hey, cuz, good to see you. So, how many voices are you listening to right now? Think about that for a moment. It may be one voice, it may be a couple of voices, it may be several voices that are speaking in your ears, right? But think about that. We remember we talked about this when we first started the podcast back in August of last year. Yes, it's been that long, August of last year. Um, we talked about making sure that we keep a tight knit group of people around us that we consider to be mentors. We consider to be those who speak, life into our situation, into our homes, into our dreams, our visions, our goals. We have to keep those people close, right? And we have to cultivate those relationships. We don't just relationships like that don't just happen. They have to be cultivated, right? You have to sow into those people's lives as they sow into your lives. Sometimes we get caught on these one-way streets, man, where we're just pulling from people, or we're constantly just giving to people and not receiving in return. So, how many voices are you listening to right now? Some could be your own thoughts, other people's opinions. Social media is a big one. Past experiences, right? At some point, it all becomes just noise. Man, the people that I've been around who are ultra successful, man, they are so focused. They have this keen sense of who they are and who they want to become and what direction that they're going in. And they just don't have time to entertain or give attention to all of that noise, right, that's going on around them. So at some point all of that has to become noise. You have to think of it that way. This is just a bunch of noise because it's not help the litmus test. It's not helping me get to where I'm trying to go. In some ways it's setting me back. So if the problem you recognize is noise, If that makes it difficult for you to get to where you're going, it makes it hard for you to get to where you're going, turn your ears off to it. Whatever it is on social media, individuals, television programs, podcasts, whatever the case may be. If it's turning off your juices, it's turning off your motivation, your inspiration, your commitment, right? Your consistency, turn it off. So tonight we're talking about how to silence the noise and trust your path. Too many people inputting or too many sources inputting into your life creates confusion. I can remember when I was pastoring, I used to tell our church all the time, and some people may see this as, oh, that's some kind of level of control. Pastors trying to control their flock. I would tell them, hey, you can't be going. When I was growing up, my mom and grandmother would tell me, look, don't be eating at people's house. Bring your butt home and eat. So the same thing I would tell, the parishioners, the members at the church I pastored. Hey, you can't be going to all these different churches, eating all these different types of meals, right? You come to your home, and for those additional voices, your pastor has close relationships with other pastors that he knows, has relationships, knows, has a good understanding of their message and what they would teach to their people, to their sheep, to make sure they stay healthy. And the reason, of course, your parents would tell you to come home and eat because you don't know what people are cooking. You don't know how they prepare. You don't know the cleanliness. You can go over there and eat something and get sick. Matter of fact, go over there, eat something and die from it, right? Come home and eat. So, same principle. Cognitive research shows that excessive information leads to decision fatigue and reduced clarity. I'll say that again. Cognitive research shows that excessive information, okay, all you people who love social media, constantly on social media, right? Constantly watching the news, constantly listening to whatever, podcasts, radio, whatever the case may be. Just a constant, excessive, all the time information coming in leads to what's called decision fatigue. You got so much information you can't even make a decision, right? Yes, Dr. K, complete chaos. It'll create complete chaos. Yes, and have a very small circle. So I want you to think about that. Research, cognitive research shows that when you are constantly receiving information, you can experience decision fatigue and it will reduce your clarity. So more voices equals less clarity. More voices equals less clarity. Yes, let me see. My wife said, right, all that church hopping. Yes, yes, that could be very, very dangerous, right? And I can remember um, having a parishioner had visited another church and then came back and say, hey, Pastor, I learned at this church, man, that the tithe is not for today. That was under the law. And I know I'm probably stirring some people up right now because some people probably have that feeling, that notion that the tithe and the offering is not for today. But I'll jump in and give you some clarity on that. Okay, so the tithe, we see the tithe in Scripture long before the law when Abraham paid the tithe of all that he had to Melchizedek, who was a type and shadow of Jesus Christ. And then, of course, we see when Israel is formed as a nation, God then gives them a command to pay the tithe. Now, the reason the tithe was paid is because the tribe of Levi were dedicated to be God's servants, right? To be the priests, to be the pastors, those who work in ministry full time. So if they're doing that, they can't go out and earn a living. So all of the other 11 tribes had to pay a tithe so that the tribe of Levi would have everything that they needed. They'd be able to take care of themselves. They'd be able to sustain themselves. So people say, okay, well, that sounds great, but still, that doesn't say that the tithe is not for today. Well, there's a number of texts. Of course, it's not the subject. I'm kind of getting off subject, but I wanted to make sure I brought some clarity to my stance on that when this church member came back to me and said, "Hey, we shouldn't pay the tithe because in Hebrews chapter 7, the writer of Hebrew, we believe it to be the Apostle Paul. He said in there, he said, when we pay tithes, mortal men receive them here, but also Jesus in heaven receives it there. And when we pay our tithes, it declares that he lives." Okay, so we see the tithe before the law and we see the tithe after the law. Okay, so if you want to have some more conversation about that, yeah, we could talk about that a little bit more as well. All right, so comparison, we talked about comparison earlier, that can distort our perception. It can distort our perception. Constant comparison makes your progress feel smaller than it actually is. When you are constantly comparing yourself to what someone else has done or what someone else is doing, it can psychologically diminish what you are actually doing, right? Trust your path, turn that noise off. You've thought it through, you've worked through some plans, some initiatives, you talk to some people who are experts in the field, experts in that particular area, and you were confident, but then you allowed all the noise and chatter to come in. And it actually makes you look and feel like you're not doing anything, right? I can remember when I started the landscaping business, right? One truck, one trailer, had, my different equipment or whatever. And I'm out there, just grinding, have someone with me. And I'm seeing these big trucks, these big vans, and they got, you know, these 3, 4 large commercial zero turn, and they're cutting, some of the bigger commercial properties and all those things. And I couldn't get caught up looking at what they were doing. I had to stay in my lane and focus on what I was doing. And over time, marketing, doing good work, people saying, recommended me. We began to grow, but I couldn't get sidetracked looking at what other people were doing. So what happens is you'll lose focus when you measure your journey against someone else. You will lose focus when you measure your journey against others. We stay focused when we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, right? In my class, I tell students all the time, because they always got to have a comment. I tell them all the time, mind your business. Stay out of other people's business, and you're going to be better for it because you're going to be more focused on what you need to be doing instead of listening to all the chatter going on around you. Remember this: not all advice is aligned with your purpose. Not all advice that you hear is aligned with your purpose. Even well meaning people can give advice that doesn't fit your calling or your direction. Hi, this is Teresa. Keep that in mind. Good advice isn't always the right advice. Well meaning people, they are well meaning, probably love you, concerned about you, want to see you succeed, but they may not give you the right advice. And sometimes they may not give it at the ideal time. So that advice can come. And if it doesn't fit your calling, your direction, the purpose that you're going in, the path that you're on, you just got to turn that off. You got to say, I appreciate you, thank you, whatever, and keep chugging ahead, keep moving forward, keep grinding, right? So remember this: clarity comes from internal alignment. You know, how it is. You just know that in your spirit, in yourself, that hey, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I know God has put me on this track, put me on this path. I'm not going to let anything get me off this path. So clarity comes from internal alignment. The more you trust your values and your direction, the less external noise matters. I'll say that again. The more you trust your values and direction, the less those external voices matter because you trust what you're doing. You believe in what you're doing. So peace comes from alignment, not approval. I need you to remember that. Peace comes from alignment with your vision, not from other people's approval. So many people are getting derailed because they're waiting for people to approve of what they're doing, the path that they're on, the goals that they've set before themselves. Right? This family member I was telling you about earlier who got some negative advice about this major purchase they wanted to make. The thing that they didn't consider, but the agent who was helping them shared, hey, don't look at this as your forever home. You're young. This is your first home, right? Take this home, put some sweat equity into it. You could turn this into a rental property. You can sell it when the valuation is up. And matter of fact, Dr. Hank and I were talking about this a couple days ago about that home valuation and how that helps set up other things that we want to do financially in our lives. Though that's the other side of the coin that we could consider, right? The other side of the coin in terms of advice that we could have given to these family members to encourage them, right? To move forward in doing something very meaningful. So peace comes from alignment, not approval. Please remember that. Okay, Michelle, we must trust and believe what we are doing. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. All right. Now, I always got to give a faith centered perspective, which I think I did earlier as I mentioned the tithe and the offering. Trust requires stillness. Trust requires stillness. Another text, God is in the quiet, still voice. He's not in the earthquake. He's not in the wind, the rain. He's in that quiet, still voice. We got to listen for that quiet, still voice. Once we learn and understand that quiet, still voice that's in us, that speaks to us, that inspires us, motivates us, causes us to commit to certain things, once we understand that voice, we begin to build trust in ourselves, right? Trust in those who have edified us in those areas, edified that inner voice, right? So sometimes you have to quiet everything around you. You got to quiet some stuff, right? You got to just get quiet, get by yourself, turn off the television, turn off the social media, right? Turn off all that talking on the phone, right? Just turn some stuff off and listen, learn how to listen for that quiet, still voice. And that will build trust in what we're looking to do, right? Now, of course, it's our tradition to ask some questions. I want to put some questions before you tonight. What voices, what voices right now in your life are influencing your decisions? What are those voices that are influencing your decisions that you make right now? Think about that for a minute. What voices are you listening to that are influencing the decisions that you make in your life currently? The reason we do this is because we want to give everything a name. We talked about that a few months ago. We got to name things so we'll understand how to address them, how to deal with them. But if they're arbitrary, they're something out in the atmosphere that we don't quite understand, well, we won't have an answer to be able to deal with that situation. We got to give everything a name. So, what are the voices that are influencing you right now when you make decisions? Some may say, hey, I go to God, I want to hear what he has to say. It may be a spouse, it may be a parent, it may be a close friend, it may be a mentor, it may be someone who's an educator who, taught us some things as we were going matriculating through our academic career. But what voices are influencing your decisions? Now, the reason why I think this question is important is because if you start taking inventory, start taking account of those that you are allowing to have this much power, if you will, this much influence in your life, you need to sit back and look at it and say, wait a minute, Why am I giving this person? And this has nothing to do with the fact that you love them, respect them, appreciate them, whatever the case may be. But you can look at their life. You can look at some of the advice they may have given you in the past, or some things that they may have done that just doesn't align with where you're going. It didn't generate success. It didn't generate fruit. It was chaos. As Dr. K said, it could have been something that was very, very unsuccessful, and we can see their track record. Why are we giving them this kind of authority, if you will, to speak into our lives, right? Think about that. It could be some friends that we're listening to who have advice that's just ill advice. It's ill advised for us to take their advice and take it seriously and implement it in our lives. That's why I asked that, right? What voices are influencing your decisions right now? Take an account, take inventory. And there are going to be some people on there that you probably need to get off of that list of having influence, having a voice, having your attention. Remember, ultra successful people, they are they are laser focused on the vision that they have before them, the goals they have set before them. They just don't have time to entertain foolishness. All right. Second question: are you listening to a voice? Come on, all of us have been there. Some people. Here we go again. Uh-oh. Okay, came back on. Okay, yeah, it looks like we had went off for a minute on YouTube. But there's a number of people, you have seen it, you've been there, that when they talk to you, you feel drained. You were feeling crystal clear about some things. After you got off the phone with them, you were confused. There was some level of confusion that took place. And then there's some people we talk to, and man, it makes the vision even clearer. It deepens our clarity, right? Deepens our clarity. Think about that. And you can share this in the chat with us if you feel like you want to share that. The third question: where might comparison be affecting your confidence? Think about where am I comparing myself to other people that could be affecting um, my confidence in myself. Where might that comparison be affecting your confidence? Dr. K, it's about knowing your boundaries and not being afraid to enforce your boundaries. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we have some people that allow them to cross those boundaries every time we have some sort of interaction with them. And you feel you after you finish talking to them or visiting with them, engaging with them, man, you feel exhausted. You feel like you need a vacation. You feel depressed. So many different things happen, and we got to stop ignoring these red flags. We got to pay attention to these flags, to these issues, to these things that cause us to take steps backwards instead of taking steps forward. Right? Yes, K, boundaries are needed. Absolutely. The fourth question I got for you. Let's see, Dr. K. I have learned to love those at a distance. There's nothing wrong with that. Loving them at a distance, right? We some of us haven't learned that. We love abuse. We keep going around these people, and these people keep abusing us, right? They don't celebrate us. They simply tolerate us. So the fourth question: what would change if you trusted your path more? If you trusted the path that you were on more, what would change? I can tell you one thing for me that I've learned. When I trust the path that I'm on, I am more diligent about being about my business in that area, in that venture. I feel empowered in the things that I'm doing when I trust the path that I'm on. The more and more I trust the path, the more involved, the more engaged, the harder I work, the more purposeful I act in the things that I do because I trust the path that I'm on. See, when you don't trust the path that you're on, you'll pick it up and look at it occasionally, Every now and then you may do a little something here and a little something there because you don't truly trust the path that you're on, right? Trusting gives confidence. Yes. I always say everyone doesn't deserve to share your space. Absolutely. Not everyone deserves to be in um, your network of trustworthy people to help you get to where you're going. The last question: what do you need to silence in this season? What do you need to silence in this season? What is it uh, that's giving you the greatest pushback, the greatest hiccups, the greatest obstacles? What is it that you need to silence? Or maybe who is it that you need to silence? Yes, cuz if forgiveness doesn't mean you have to give people access to you again. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's another critical thing that we could get into tonight. Yes, man. Man, we think that forgiveness means, we open the door and let them come in and stab us in the back again. And I think we talked about that several months ago as well, because we looked at a few texts about that. Okay, I'm not sure who this is. Let me see. My hardest lessons in life have been learning to be still. Yes, it is tough to be still, especially in this busy world that we're in. It's all about being busy. And I tell you, when I was a young professional, I hated busy work. I hated people assigning me busy work. And I shouldn't say hated, but I dislike people assigning me busy work, or me, assigning someone else busy work, or someone bringing busy work to me. No, 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 don't have time for busy work. We need effective work. We need work that's going to get us moving forward, get us going to the next level. Oh, brother Melvin. Oh man, good to see you on, man. Good to see you made it back safely from Louisiana, visiting your family up in Shreveport. All right. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me once again. Like I said, if at the top of the show, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Appreciate you subscribing. Make sure you hit the bell so you're alerted of when we go live, when I drop some videos on YouTube. And make sure you share. Make sure you like, comment on the content. That really helps the algorithm in terms of sharing our content with other people. Let's see. I see Rob Drums. I appreciated that video you sent me today too. I want to trust the path, the purpose, but right now I'm working on letting him pave the trailhead of where I need to go. Yes, yes, we got to make sure we get that clarity in that direction, right? Yes. Thank you, Rob Drums, for sending me that video today. That really encouraged. Yes, yes, Dr. K. Please, everyone have a fantastic week. And I want to close out with this. Not every voice deserves your attention. Not every voice deserves your attention. Not every opinion deserves your energy. And not every path is yours to follow. We get caught up following, trying to do and get on someone else's path, right? Sometimes the most powerful thing you and I can do is get quiet, stay focused, and trust our path. So thank you for joining me tonight on Meaningful Conversations. Until next time, stay focused, stay faithful, and keep becoming who you are called to be. Have a good night, everyone. Finish the week strong. Thank you for joining me.